Hey guys, and welcome to Two Gay Peas in a Podcast for another week. My name's Matt.
And I'm Bevan.
And in this podcast, we like to challenge our ways of thinking, to open our minds, and to spread light through honest and open conversations. Now, this week is all about money.
Hey, money, money, money.
Yes. Yes, we didn't rehearse that at all.
Not at all.
Money is a big part of our lives, obviously, whether we like it or not. And it can be really challenging to have a good relationship with money. Joining us to discuss it is financial advisor Jess Orrico. Jess is super passionate about helping people to transform their relationship with money and to feel motivated and confident to be financially independent. She also helps people to work through money challenges in family dynamics and arming her clients with the tools to work through these challenges. Welcome to the podcast, Jess.
Yay.
Woohoo, I'm so excited. Hello.
Oh, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you for the intro.
No problem at all. I hope I did your name justice.
You did. You made it extra spicy.
Yes,
so
got to have a bit of spice in there.
Very excited to have this chat. And just for everyone that's listening, this is not how to win Tats Lotto, okay? We're not going to give you...
That would be nice.
Yeah, we're not going to give you any skills of how to win Tats.
You think you've always got a skill with your number picking, though?
I know. I have a bit of... Apparently, I have a bit of a psychic ability.
We haven't won anything yet, though, Bevan.
Ooh.
I know. And you always say to me, why can't you come up with the numbers for Tats Lotto? I'm like, it doesn't work that way, Matthew.
Doesn't work that way.
But thank you so much
I feel like you need to tune in for that.
Yeah,
tune into that.
I think I do. That could make our financial situation a lot better. But thank you so much for being with us today. We're excited to explore all things money.
Yeah, Jess, now we were just talking before we started recording with you, and your passion just like oozes through the screen to us hear about this. And how did you become so passionate about what you're doing as a financial advisor, and how did you become a financial advisor?
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, I could literally talk about it all day. And it's something that's definitely grown over time. You know, when I started as a financial advisor, it was, I wasn't really tuned into it to this extent. You know, it was very much about investments and how is your, your portfolio performed. And then over time, I really started working on it for myself and questioning my relationship with money. And it's just something that, you know, like you said, we all have to deal with, whether we like it or not. And having those real conversations just with friends and family and the impact that really has, I started taking that and exploring it with my clients. And now it's just, you know, it's the topic of conversation with my clients. And it seems to be just so effective in helping clients just make progress with their own money challenges. So yeah, it's a work in progress.
What are some of the key things that you discovered about your relationship with money then through that? You know, I mean, you're researching it as part of your career, so I guess you're learning it from that point of view and then really dissecting your own life. Are there some key points that you found with yourself?
Yeah, I think, you know, money is linked to every aspect of our lives. It's in our relationships. It's got to do with our self-respect. It's got to do with literally every aspect of our lives. And so I think when you just take money and you have those real conversations with your friends and your family and you look at your life as a whole, linking money into, you know, your key values in life becomes really, really important. And so I think for myself, it was one of those things where I had a really unhealthy relationship with money. You know, the more money I made, the more money I'd spend, and it would be on, you know, things that really don't fill up your cup. So when you actually reflect and you sit down and you say, okay, what are the things that really add value to my life? And you look at where you spend your money, it's one of those exercises that can really blow your mind when you look and you see how much of your money is actually going on things that don't fill up your cup. So I think that is definitely one of the big issues and one of the big exercises that can make a really, really significant impact is just having a look, seeing where you're spending your money and reflecting to see, is this filling up our cup, basically. Yeah.
Can I ask you, in your own self-analysis, what were you doing that wasn't filling your cup? Like what did you experience was a place where your money was definitely not edifying you, or as we've spoken to, bringing you joy?
Yeah, definitely. There's so many things, you know.
If that's okay to share.
Of course, I am an open book. So any questions you want to ask is not, they're on the table. So, look, alcohol, clothes, nails, hair, makeup, cosmetics, all these things, they're things that I would spend a lot of money on. Do they really fill up my cup? Do I need to spend that much money on these things? No. And then there would be, for me, something I'm really passionate about is personal development, health and fitness, these sorts of things. So, as an example, I wanted to get Spanish lessons, and I would feel so guilty about spending money on these Spanish lessons each week. Do I need Spanish lessons? My family speaks Spanish. And so I would feel very guilty for spending this money each week on my Spanish lessons. But yeah, I have no issue going out and blowing all this money on the weekends on alcohol and Ubers and all these sorts of things. So it's just really, and I feel like a lot of people do this, they'll go online, spend lots of money on shopping, but yet they'll go to the grocery shop and try and cut back and save money on healthy food for their family. So yeah, I think it's an issue across the board.
There's definitely something can relate there. Definitely. Well, like I find myself being such a stingy person with some things, but then I'll just, sometimes just happily order an Uber Eats or something. For me, it's like yummy food.
Especially when I'm out of town.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Jess,
Yes.
I'd love to explore this with you more then. What are some more typical traits of bad relationships with money that you see?
Yeah. Can I also add to this as
Yeah,
well?
sure.
We've got this dynamic where you'd be spending money on things that are of no value to yourself. But then there's also the other side of this where when you're in a relationship, are you having these conversations with your partner as well? Because you've got the things you value, you've got the things your partner values, and you're both spending money and blowing money on things of no value. So really having that conversation together and discussing what are the things that you both value is really important. And I see that in breakdowns a lot when it comes to money. There's money is hard to talk about, even in a relationship. And just really that is one of the key things, just to answer your question, that I see in terms of money concerns and money issues is between partners not having those challenging money conversations. Yeah.
Where did we think we got shame on money, about money? Where did it come into this, do you think? Why have we got to the point where money is so shameful to talk about? It's sort of online. It's online with sex in some respects. I think sometimes we can talk about sex a bit easier than we can talk about money.
Definitely. I 100% agree with you. You talk to a man about sex, they're an open book. You talk to them about their money, that's a whole nother issue.
Yes.
And there seems to be that shame attached to that if I tell you what my financial situation is, and we've had a relationship, you and I, talking about my financial situation, and it will be Matt's in my superannuation, but I'm a pretty open book, but there is some shame attached to sometimes knowing that you may not have as much money as you should have at certain ages, and also feeling that you may not have a lot of savings, or you made some really bad decisions, and that can be really confronting to tell someone.
It's easy to compare ourselves to our peers as well, isn't it? That's a horrible thing
and I
too.
think there's definitely, and I think there is this false, there's this false image out there of how much people have. You just have to go on Instagram and have a look and see these pictures of people living the high life, but yet really, have they got anything to their name? Probably not.
Yeah.
And so I think when we're comparing ourselves to this false image of people's lives, it makes it really shameful when we don't live up to that standard. So I think there's that side of things. I think I deal with this a lot in my own head, the relationship between money and masculinity as well. I think there's a lot of shame there, in the sense that we as a society link the two very much together in this way that is just so unrealistic for men especially to live up to. You know, when we think of money and shame, I do think we associate that a lot of the time with men. You know, it is changing, the whole modern world of equal, you know, men and women, gender roles and that sort of thing. But I do think that shame is often more associated with men than it is with women.
And is that kind of diving
yeah.
into the toxic masculinity trait of maybe feeling like you're less of a man if you have less money than some of your peers? And maybe, you know, that
Yes.
brevity of like, if I've got more money, I have more power than you. It's a very toxic thing, isn't it?
Definitely. And I did a bit of a deep dive into this because, you know, I look at myself and I'll be very honest in saying I'm quite old school, you know. I love cooking. I love cleaning. If I had a man to look after me, I would love that, you know. And so I just would. Like, I could look after myself, but for me, I find it very attractive when a man possesses those qualities, you know. And so I actually had to do a bit of a deep dive into my own beliefs. you know,
Yeah.
is this a toxic trait that I'm after? I don't know. And so I don't think it is. I think it's you know, we do associate this toxic masculinity with this false image of money and men and what they can bring to the table. But I think a lot of the time, you know, money gives us the ability to offer protection and to offer security and all these things. So it does give us the ability to offer these things to each other and our partners. So, you know, I think if you link the two in a healthy way, there is a relationship there, but we're not really seeing that too much in our society today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to add to this as well, Jess.
Yeah.
I find that I really struggle, especially in the past few years, because I started working from the age of 14. You know, my parents had a small business, which I first started working at as soon as I could. And as early as I could, I wanted to earn my own money and to be independent. And, you know, when I was doing an apprenticeship, I had a mentor, and each week he'd bring me in snippets of financial advice, and he encouraged me to buy some shares when I was 18, which then helped me to buy my first house. And I'm so grateful for what my parents instilled into me in terms of a work ethic from a young age. And I'm so grateful for the mentor that I had when I was 18. Then through my 20s, you know, I worked a lot in radio as a radio announcer, and I was paying my own way. And since this gorgeous man came into my life, and I've gone down a yes, and I've gone down a
very lucky.
I know.
Thank you.
I've gone down a different path and a more creative path, something that I wanted to do for a long time, but I couldn't work out how to do it. And Bev really encouraged me to quit radio, where I was incredibly unhappy at that point in time. And that's another conversation, right? I was earning decent money, but I was incredibly unhappy in what I was doing. So it didn't mean anything that I was earning that money. But now I'm feeling really fulfilled in terms of a creative path that I've gone down, and I've achieved so many things in that world that I wouldn't have been able to do if I stuck it in radio and was earning the money. But since I quit radio, like, it's job to job, it's way less money than I was earning before. And I struggle so much with myself because I don't feel like I contribute as much to this relationship as I feel like I want to financially sometimes. And that's really hard.
Yeah. I think that is, you know, it's one of those things that at different stages of life we contribute in different ways. And the way I see it is, just because you're not contributing financially at this stage, I'm sure you're bringing so much to your relationship, and you make it so wholesome. And I know you do, because of all the beautiful things that Bev says about you.
And we've had that conversation often, where I've just said exactly that. You bring other things to the relationship other than just money. Because I know that there's people out there that have like two big incomes, bringing the incomes, but do they have what we have is a holistic relationship. Do they bring more to it, or they just bring that money home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to budget really hard.
Yeah.
We budget really hard to keep this going the way we're doing.
We do.
Because we have a really strong belief that it's the right thing and it will pay off in the long run financially as well, because we're really investing in ourselves at this point in time, I guess. And that's a big part of this financial conversations as well, isn't it? Investing in yourself.
Definitely.
Yes, definitely about making those investments right. We often feel guilty about spending money on ourselves for self-improvement or the things that we really feel are the goals that we want, more so than just a car or clothing. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And, I see it a lot. I've got some clients that make a lot of money, and money, it doesn't bring happiness. You really need to follow what brings you joy and what's filling you up, and find a way to cultivate what fills you up with income, with money, And I feel like, to be honest with you, that's what I've done with my work. As a financial advisor, I could sit here and talk about your investments, and that's pretty much all we speak about. Or we can go a little bit deeper and have these sorts of conversations. So your work really is what you make of it and the direction you take it, And I think that's really important. What you were saying before about feeling guilty in your relationship, just knowing that you're working together, and at different stages of life, you're going to contribute in different ways, what you're doing now, okay, you may not be earning what you want, but who knows where you're going to be in 5, 10, 15 years time. So, and just really following that path, you can feel when something feels right, and you can feel when something, you wake up and you dread going to work, that's, you're not living in alignment in that way. So
yeah, you're so right.
Yeah.
What are some steps that people could take? Some initial steps that maybe people could take to better their relationships with money, Jess?
Yeah. So I think one of the first little things, actually. So there are so many little things that you can do. I did a post, I think it was just yesterday or the day before, just changing your mindset when you are spending money each day. So as an example, when you have a bill, your mortgage, as an example, say you're living in your house, you get your mortgage for the month, you go, oh, my mortgage, it's going up, interest rates are so high? Or are you telling yourself, I'm so grateful to be able to have the opportunity to live in the house that is comfortable and, it's my home. And so making these little mindset shifts. When you go to the grocery store, are you angry at the fact your grocery shop's gone up in price? Or are you grateful at the fact you can choose what you're putting on the table to eat each day? So making these tiny little shifts make a huge difference. I think as well, being very mindful about where we're spending our money. Like I mentioned before, that activity to just go through and have a look at your spending, even just for a week, and just look at all your transactions and compare your transactions to what you really value in your life. Is it filling up your cup, or are you spending your money on Uber Eats every night and really nothing else that gives you any value? Because when you spend your money on these things, you are not fulfilling that healthy relationship with money. Something else, I think, having regular conversations with your partner as well about money and concerns that you have, making sure that you're on the same path financially. What are your financial goals? Coming up with some financial goals together, short, medium, and long-term goals is really important. Talking about concerns as well. And, like you mentioned before, how you feel sometimes that you're not financially contributing. Are you voicing that? Are you talking that through with your partner? Some people don't, and I think it's really important to have that sort of conversation. Another thing is talking about your money story growing up. What were your family like growing up? Mm-hmm. Was money very scarce? Was money in abundance? Was money, was there issues in your family to do with money? Because like you mentioned before, you felt very grateful that you've had your family support and you had some investment advice when you were 18. And so that's really set you up for life. And so as an example for me, I grew up in a family who migrated from Argentina. their way of thinking is save, 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 buy a house, and you've made it, you know?
Yeah.
And so your money story from when you were young really it molds you as an adult, and it molds you into your beliefs as an adult when it comes to money. So having those conversations, I think, is very important.
Wow, there's so much to take away from that, Jess.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's incredible.
It's great.
I mean, one thing that you said, to jump back, one of the first things you said, which I think is such a powerful thing that you said, is really just those shifting in mindset, you know, being pissed off that something's becoming more expensive or being grateful that we can have the choice to pick is such an important thing for people to really have to think about, because we really can become blind on a day-to-day as to how privileged we really are in a Western society here, especially here in Australia.
Yes.
I saw another news article yesterday about refugees on a boat that's destroyed simply just trying to live somewhere where they could have a choice of something to eat. So we really are so privileged here.
And we rent here at the moment, and we have our property back in Tasmania, but again, totally privileged. And we keep being told we're in a rental crisis, and the affordability, which is true, and the pressures on people to find affordable housing is very difficult. And I think it's probably one of the biggest spends that people have is on their housing and electricity bills and things like that. But I appreciate still having that thankfulness and not having that negativity towards the rent or the bill is powerful to be able to shift that. And I often look at Matt and say, well, we can flip it. You know, we can sit here and say, you know, well, the rent's high and the gas is high and all that. But again, it's not giving me anything sitting here being negative about it at all. And I always see it like a bit of an emotional cancer, if I can say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And, you know, we can apply this to any aspect of our life, not just money, having those negative thoughts around work, around our body, around our health, you know, everything.
And I'm not saying it's not a struggle for many people who are absolutely doing it extremely hard now financially.
Mm-hmm.
But it is that in my own personal experience and having contact with people who are very poor in certain countries and seeing them so joyful with zero, there's something in that you just know that this happiness is not found in what's around us, but somewhere in here. And I know I can get deeper into that, you know. Without ignoring the fact that absolutely things are tough. But when you see someone on the street who has the biggest smile on their face, who gives us the biggest hug and who's living in poverty and blesses you like that, there's something in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely something in
It's
that.
the society we live in. I mean, where every day we see Insta advertising, everything that tells us we have to be something, we have to look a certain way, we have to earn a certain amount of money. You know, it's all that shit that's put on us all the time. You know, it's hard. It's easy to get caught up in it all.
Yeah, I think that's why it's very important to constantly tune in with yourself and make sure that you are living in alignment with what brings you happiness, because money, at the end of the day, if we're just chasing money, that's not the key to living a happy, joyful life. And I think if we can just follow that flame inside us, money comes because we're living in abundance. So money finds a way to come when we follow that flame. I really believe that.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
that is. That's very powerful.
Jess, why don't we talk about family dynamics in a little bit more detail? Because money and family, always a really fun conversation.
Yes.
Money and family dynamics, money can rip families apart. It can lose all sense of what a family is.
Yes. Sorry. Money does crazy things to people for sure. Definitely.
And I know you said before that it really defines our belief on money from what we grow up with. I won't go into much detail, but I have been a little bit burned by things I have seen and experienced in my own life, I think, and things I've witnessed within certain aspects of my own family. There's certainly things that I aspire to be nothing like. Yeah. So, what's the question here? I mean, how can people learn to put family before money? I mean, yeah, I don't know what to ask.
How to be healthy in your family with money. I mean, how is that? Does it start with better conversations within your family? Does it?
Yeah, more openness.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, again, it comes down to, I think, greed a lot of the time when it comes to money. And from what I have experienced as a financial advisor, the more money people have, the more greedy people become. You have families that have less financial assets, and you've got brothers and sisters going, no, you have it, you have it, you have it, And then when it comes to more money, the dynamic starts to change and people become more greedy. And I think really it comes down to having a good financial setup. This is when a financial advisor and lawyers and accountants can be very helpful, is if you do have significant financial assets, because generally that's where those big breakdowns happen. Having a really good, clear strategy to pass on wealth is very important. Having conversations as well, but sometimes conversations depending on family dynamics and desperation as well, and greed and all these things. And a lot of the time you've got the siblings, and then you've got the siblings' partners that get involved that have very conflicting views. So it can be a very tricky conversation. And a lot of the time these sorts of things happen while the parents, which is normally the ones with all the money, still alive, still around, and people are already fighting over the wealth. So I think it's very important to have a really clear setup, a very clear setup when it comes to estate planning. Definitely having a very clear strategy and way to pass down the wealth through the family. And if there are people that don't get along with each other, making sure that you don't have one as the executor or anything like that of the will, and having an external party there. But definitely having those really open conversations as well, depending on the dynamic of the family, can be very helpful. I've found the most beneficial conversations with clients, friends and family, ones that you're just very open and you just talk from the heart, and you're just very transparent with where you're at, what you feel, and your money situation. And I find that they're the ones of the most significant impact.
From my experience of what I've seen, I noticed that lack of communication is just, it's terrible. It's such a killer, and it really pulls people apart.
Yeah, I think there's just so much to unpack there, and there's just so many different scenarios. You've got a lot of the time these things happen when you've got maybe somebody that's got some sort of an addiction in the family, and they can, a lot of the time there's breakdowns there, and they want an unrealistic amount of an estate or whatever the case might be. Or you have a partner that just wants money, a partner from one of the siblings, as an example, desperate for the money. So there's just so many situations.
Now, I'm of an older generation a little bit than you two young'uns. No, never. And I've been privileged again financially a little bit to work, but I've had a fail at my first marriage and went through divorce, and that had a lot of financial ramifications on it. But I was able to recover fairly well, and my working time has been really good. I'm really interested, and it's not only from our community as a gay community, and we call it the pink dollar. Because often...
Do we? I never knew we called it the pink dollar.
Okay, anyone that's listening or watching this, put in the comments, please. Pink dollar is a thing. Have you not heard of the pink dollar?
What is this, like gay, queer people's dollars?
Yes, it's like, yoo-hoo, it's the pink dollar, here they come.
Oh.
Yeah, it's usually because we don't have children, but we're having more children now.
I see.
So maybe we won't have as much pink dollar as we did before. You've
right.
never heard of the pink dollar?
No, I haven't heard of the pink dollar. Have you heard of the pink dollar, Jess? No.
Oh, Jess.
Can't say I have, I'm
We'll get some
sorry.
more queer clients over to you, Jess.
Anywho, pink dollar.
Yeah.
But
We've heard it now.
we've heard it now, which means you have income that you can obviously spend because you don't have as much overheads. But that may be a thing of the past a little bit with the cost of living and us having children. But your generation, which is we talk about a lot, and it gets a bad rap of being the lazy generation, or the entitled generation. And I was watching something on ABC the other day. But when looking at, there's so much pressure on your generation to buy the house, have the life, do all the trips overseas, and I guess I want to explore, as in your age group, what are some of those pressures that they're still here that you're seeing in your age group? Because when we spoke, you said that your age group really does interest you, the people between 20 and 30, and where they're at financially and where they're at with their relationship with money.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think, again, Instagram has a lot to do with this, all the influencers out there. I'm 30, so I see it a lot with people my age and the conversations I'm having with people in my age group. Again, it's mostly the conversations with the men and the pressures that they're feeling to be able to provide the overseas trip, like you mentioned, the big house, house big enough for them and 2 or 3 kids. And to do that, in Melbourne, it's an expensive venture, and to look good and to be home and be home to spend time with the wife and the kids and all these additional pressures. And it's, I think, a very unrealistic pressure. I was having a conversation with one of my girlfriends not too long ago, and she's just had a baby, and she was like, how much does her partner, her husband, need to make for her not to go back to work and maintain the lifestyle that they were living? And it was going to need to be, $500,000 a year kind of thing.
Whoa.
To be able to maintain the lifestyle that they were living, and her be at home and not have to go back to work. So if you look at that, and the expectation for a lot of females out there is ideally that's what they want. So I think there is that pressure out there, and women as well. I feel the pressure myself sometimes. I, especially being in a South American family, I'm 30 years old, I'm single, I don't have a partner. That pressure to settle down and to have the family. So there's like a whole different sort of pressure there as well. So
do you get the whole, have you found anyone yet? Do you get that?
Always. The most common thing is, oh, you're beautiful, why are you single?
Oh yeah, of course.
Of course. You say, well, that's the reason why I am single.
There are a whole lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Especially as you get older, the pool of men start to decrease as well.
Yeah.
So.
Jess, maybe what are some key pieces of advice that you could give to some young people? Maybe people in there who are really just starting to live their adult lives that want to set themselves up. What could we tell them?
Definitely. I've got so many things here.
Yes.
The first one being to just invest a little bit of money. There's so many apps, and I'm happy to give you some apps that you can, pop in your comments that, we could just invest whatever you can afford, $5 a week, $10 a week, $2 a week, $100 a week, and just that consistency each week, each month, whenever you get paid, over time just compounds. And there's so many things that this does for us. One, it teaches us how to invest. It teaches us how the market fluctuates. It gives us confidence to actually invest, so we can see, market ups and downs, etc. And then as we get more money, our confidence grows and we become comfortable investing greater amounts of money. A lot of us feel very comfortable investing in property. We can see it, we can feel it, we live in one, we understand how it works. But as soon as we start talking about shares and the share market, a lot of people lose confidence about this and find it more risky than purchasing a property. So I think that is a really cool way. You know, I started working at 14. If I started investing $5 a week every time I got paid waitressing to now, you know, I wouldn't have to work, I reckon. So definitely that as my number one tip. My second tip is, you know, we really need to save only for three things, I would say. So we need to save for emergencies. We save for big purchases. So if we're saving for like a house or a big holiday or whatever the case might be, and save for investment purchases. So have money there available to invest. So emergency, and then obviously your day-to-day living, but saving money for those three buckets and really being intentional about our savings. I would say that's another tip. And again, just that aspect of mindfulness when it comes to money. That's something we don't really need. We don't really need to put in too much effort when it comes to mindfulness. Being mindful how we spend our money and the messages that we tell ourselves when we spend and receive money. You know, again, money in itself, spending and receiving money is so abundant. It's such an abundant thing to do and to receive. So I think just having that level of gratitude whenever we spend and receive money starts to shift that relationship. Yeah.
That's really powerful.
Very, very powerful.
Yeah.
I was thinking of all the money when I was mowing lawns when I was younger.
Same.
If I put that into an account.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right, Jess. Like $5 a week, you know, it's a sacrifice of a coffee. You know, it's such a small sacrifice of lifestyle per week. When you know, a step as well, going back and looking at your transactions for a week, you could definitely look at all the times where you could have not spent something that was $5 through the week and invested that. And then I guess it can really help us to implement that in future weeks, right? Just one at a time.
Definitely. And I think also when it comes to money, it's small shifts, you know, those little shifts over time and not having to go in. It's like, you know, you want to get healthy. You're not going to go in and stop eating all sugar, all fat, no alcohol, no cigarettes, train every day. It's a process over time. And that's the same when it comes to a relationship with money. Baby steps, and we can always work on it. I'm still working on this for myself. You know, everything I'm talking to you about, it's steps that I'm implementing for myself as we speak as well. So it's something that over time we can always grow and build on.
Yeah.
And I'd also say go and get some professional help.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we can be of assistance for sure.
You can. And you have been you yourself and the company has been a lifeline to me. You resurrected, definitely gave me a better attitude and relationship with money, helped clear my mind about it, very much so, and turned my net worth in that respect around. I was feeling pretty depressed at that time that I felt like my relationship choices had obliterated my financial situation.
Oh.
Yeah, I did. I felt really hopeless about that. And your team and obviously meeting you in recent times is just invaluable to have that support. Because there were things that I didn't know you could do to help, especially when it came.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's a beautiful thing, especially in the investment part of it. I didn't know that my money could work for me in many different ways. No idea how that could happen, and that changed my whole view on it. And I think if people are listening, and whether they're seeing us or listening now, I think it'd be really interesting. Some people are really feeling hopeless because they're feeling that their debt has got to, you know, such a bad way. But and if you concur, is that there is a way out of this. Like there is a way that you can start walking out of that situation of debt.
That just fills my heart, and that's literally why I love what I do, is to be able to help people and give them confidence and just know that, you know, there is hope and you can really enjoy the money journey as well. So very much appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So when and I guess on the same thing, if you are in a lot of debt, What are some of the things, other than going to and get professional help, but what are some of the things if people are really in debt at this point in time? Especially we're looking at credit card debt, your afterpays and all those sorts of things of where we're going for quick gratifications and getting that. What are some of the things that can help people, just small things again, that can help them start moving this debt freeze that they're in at this point in time?
Yeah, to shift that kind of overwhelming feeling.
Yeah. Because I know we talked a bit pink dollar. Now you know what the pink dollar is.
Yes.
You know, our lifestyle, especially as gay men often and generally, is that, you know, we go out and we eat and we spend all this money, and often we don't talk about, is everyone okay? You know, it's not an endless well, and trying to keep up, we're spending a lot of money. So are there certain things that you can give us, the people who are in debt right now and really feeling pretty hopeless about it?
Sure. And obviously this is not specific advice. So
correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to speak with an advisor,
exactly.
But just general tips for you. What I would say is having a look at your debt and having a look at the interest rates that you're paying on the debt. And the best thing to do would be to start culling the ones that you're paying the most interest on. So things like number one would be cash advance. If you're pulling out cash advance, you're getting charged a lot of interest there. And then working your way through your debt that way. So trying to just reduce the ones that are the highest interest rates first. Also, buy now, pay later schemes. These are just horrible for our flow of money and just our relationship with money, because we're just spending money in our head, you know, buy now, pay later, afterpay. We're associating a $80 top, let's just say, as a $20 top because you're paying only one little chunk of money. So we're getting this really warped perception of how much things are costing us with these buy now, pay later schemes. So if you're in debt and you are feeling out of control, I would say start with the highest interest rates and start working your way through those. And also stop using your buy now, pay laters. It's just not good for us.
Yeah,
that's the second thing. Also, I think as well, I am very much of the approach that we can't be super harsh on ourselves. And I talk to this about my clients that they're in retirement and they don't want to spend any money, you know. I feel like we are here to enjoy life. We can't completely be eating, you know, bread and butter for dinner because we're trying to pay off our debt. We need to have a balance that we can maintain. So create a plan for yourself that's reasonable, that you can stick to. It's like a diet plan. If you make it too strict, you're not going to follow it. So put a plan in place that is going to be able to, you're going to be able to work with it over time, and just 1% each day. You know, as long as we're moving forward, we are making progress. So I think that's really important as well, is just showing ourselves some self-love and just being gentle with ourselves. And as long as we're working forward, knowing that we're making progress is really important, because that feeling of being in debt, and I've been there myself, so I know the feeling, you know, is very, it really affects you in all ways. It's not just your money. It's when you wake up in the morning, you're stressed and you're feeling anxious, and then it affects your attitude for the day. So I think being gentle on yourself and just creating a plan that you can stick to pay it down over time is really important. Also, consolidating debt can be a really good way. So if you've got debts in all these different places, I know for myself, in my head, if I've just got one pot of debt that I'm paying off, can feel a lot more cleansing than having debt in all these other places. Another cool thing, if you've got credit card debt, could be a balance transfer, 0% balance transfer, which basically means if you've maxed out a credit card and you go online, you can have a look at different credit cards that offer 0% for, say, 12 months or 24 months, which means you can roll that credit card debt over and then pay it off over a 12-month period with no interest on that credit card.
That's great.
So that's a really cool way as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's true. I've done that before, but you've got to be mindful. You've got to pay it off in the 12 or 24 months.
That's right.
It's not like,
and you want to chop that card up.
Ah.
You don't want to use it.
Oh, that's the hardest thing, isn't it? When they say chop up your cards, like, okay.
Yes.
And then you maybe not.
And Jess, I know maybe some people might be listening and thinking, oh, look, I can't afford to get financial advice or I can't afford to see a financial advisor. But I would argue that this would go back to what you were saying before is like a $5 or a $10 a week investment in putting it into something. Save $5 and $10 a week and put that somewhere specifically for some financial advice, because a few sessions with you could set someone up for life, couldn't it? Really? Just to give them some advice and information that they can carry with them forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think online there is, I've seen lots of content online that is misleading when it comes to investments. You see these gurus. I'm not sure what kind of guru they are, but they're suggesting different investments to make. As a financial advisor, we can't do that. We can't suggest specific investments to make. So seeing that online, it's just what's right for you may not be right for somebody else. So it's very important to do some research and speak with a coach or a financial advisor, or trust your resource that you're getting that information from. Make sure you're having a look and seeing what qualifications this person has, what experience this person has. Is it a random on Instagram, or do they have some sort of accreditation to be able to give this sort of advice?
Yeah.
Another cool way, I think, personally, is if there's a company that you're interested in and it's $5 or $10 a week, research that company, look into it a bit more. Do you stand for their ethical side of things in the business? Do you like their product? Do you stand by their service offering? And invest in that company. That's a really cool way of starting your investing journey. So there are lots of different approaches. There are a lot more ethical funds out there, and funds that are focusing on, being ethical and environmentally conscious. And so I think if that's your space, there are lots of options out there that you could focus on as well. So just focusing on an area that you want to put your money. Remember, you're giving your money to this company or this group of companies. So make it worth your while. I think as well, a lot of the time when I see investments go wrong, all the time actually, when I see investments go wrong, it's because somebody's gone, I don't want to invest in shares, they're too risky. And then you talk a little bit more about it and you find out that they've got their share advice from a random somewhere that they've just seen online, or it's a friend of a friend and they've suggested something to invest in and they've gone and invested in it and they've lost their money. So I would really suggest that people do some research and feel comfortable with where they're putting their money. Are they happy supporting the business that they're putting their money into as well? I think is really important. And that's a focus for the younger generation. We're a lot more environmentally and ethically aligned to our investments than the older generations. So I'm very excited about that. I think that's a really cool shift in the investment world.
Yeah.
Well, Jess, I think talking with you today and hearing your passion about it, and specifically about mindset with money and just shifting the mindset to think about it in a more positive way, it's been really inspiring and makes me want to think about myself more and more. I know at one point I used to be really passionate about this, and I feel like it's kind of like gone this way. So now you've like given me a boost to really kind of take a hold of things and feel better about things again. So I really appreciate that.
And for me, as we've spoken about, it's always about bringing joy. And if what I have or if I got and I've purchased or used money and it's not bringing joy, then what's that point of having that? So, and thank you again for helping and facilitating some amazing joy in my life when it comes to money. It's been beautiful to talk to you because it does remind us that we want a better love relationship with money.
Yeah.
Instead of having this love-hate relationship with money. Yeah. Thank you.
Jess, where can we find you? You mentioned your Instagram, and I noticed you're putting tidbits of little snippets of advice and tips and tricks up there. What's your Instagram?
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's still a bit fresh, and I'm a little bit of a beginner when it comes to the Instagram. But my Instagram is Jess_Orrico, ORRICO, and I try and put out things that are relevant and that I'm having conversations about with friends and family and clients. And more than happy to answer any questions on there as well when it comes to money, mindfulness. I love talking about it. So definitely open for conversations on there.
Yes.
Yay.
Jess Orrico. I had to put a bit more spice in it again.
Orrico.
Orrico. It's like I grew up with Stacey Orrico with
Yes.
that song. There's
Yes.
gotta be more to life. We did this off air before, guys, but I had to do it again because it was a great song.
It's a great song.
Yes. All right.
Apparently.
Jess Orrico, we appreciate talking with you so much today about something that, is part of our life every single day. So, yeah, we really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us in the pod.
Oh, thank you so much. I enjoyed it too. And thank you for all the kind words. And yeah, I just love this sort of conversation. So thank you for your time.
Oh, no worries at all. Thank you again for joining us this week on Two Gay Peas in a Podcast. Thank you for sticking with us. Send us any questions or any topics that you think we should discuss in our podcast here. You can find us at YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, on social media at Two Gay Peas, you can find us. I'm Matt.
And I'm Bevan.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.